In this video, I'm going to show you how to frame out a wall for a pocket door. And we're going to do it right now. I'm doing some remodeling in this room, and one of the things I need to do is put a wall up almost in the center of this room to separate these to create the rooms and the space that I want. This video will definitely apply to you if you're building a wall from scratch for a pocket door. This video also might help you out if you have an existing door opening and you want to change your door to a pocket door. And we're going to talk about that first. So let's say that you have an existing door right here that swings this way and you don't want it to swing that way anymore. You want to utilize the space and you want a pocket door. There's a couple things to consider, and that is stuff like this, electrical. If you have wiring, you're going to have to move it because the door itself goes into the wall and it needs space to do that. The kit that I'm going to be using is going to be for a 2x4 wall, but there's all kinds of kits that you can get. So you don't have to bump the wall out in order to do this, but you do have to keep in mind also if it's a load-bearing wall. You can't just rip out studs and frame it and put the kit in and hope for the best. You need to figure out if it is a load-bearing wall. And there's definitely ways to be able to do it by putting a header in, but that is something I'm going to leave up to you. Just be careful. And if it's not a load-bearing wall, it's going to be easier for you because you can take studs out and just frame it the way that I'm going to be framing this wall, and you should be good to go. This is the kit that I'm going to be using, Johnson Hardware. They do make them for all different sizes. In fact, you can cut this one to suit your needs if necessary. Regardless of what size this is, they do give specifications on what the opening needs to be. It's a good idea to get whatever kit you're using before you start so that you can read the instructions and frame the opening to the manufacturer's specifications. But I'm going to start by putting the bottom plate down and the top plate. Basically the bottom 2x4 of the wall and the top 2x4 of the wall. Over in this area, I'm going to be doing a closet, so I'm not going to be concerned with this right now, but I am going to put a bottom plate all the way from wall to wall. So I want it to butt up to here, so I'm going to take this baseboard off. This might be a little tricky because of the carpet. I think this is actually two different pieces of trim. Let's see if I can get the top one off. Okay. Now, since this is behind the carpet and the tack strip, let's see if I can work it up. I'm not too concerned about saving this. And now the other side of the room. Next, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with the flooring in here. So temporarily, I am going to keep this carpet, but eventually I'm going to be replacing it and doing probably hardwood throughout the entire first floor. But I have to move some things around in other rooms in order to do that. So for now, I'm just leaving this, but I am going to slice this all the way down because I want my bottom plate to sit on the subfloor. If you were keeping this carpet, let's say, you could technically build a wall right on top of this. That's totally up to you. Some people don't like doing that. The only reason I would say not to do that, or the only circumstance, is if it's a concrete floor, especially in a basement. If you sandwich that carpet under the bottom plate, you can have moisture build up in there and cause all kinds of problems. So if you were keeping this and you didn't want to have a seam in the doorway, then you would want to take your measurements for your frame and measure that out and then cut the carpet if you wanted to put the wall on top of the subfloor and not on top of the carpet. And of course, if you have other flooring like hardwood floor, you can just go right on top of that. But in my case, I'm going to measure where I want the wall over here, and then over there, I'm going to snap a line and I'm going to cut this carpet all the way, fold it back so I can attach right to the subfloor. So I've decided to put my wall basically right here. This would be the start of the 2x4, and then this would be the edge of it. So I'm just going to measure this way and do 3.5 inches. That's my 2x4. And then I'm going to measure to this wall over here, and that is 76 1/4. So I want to take that same measurement and mark it on the other side. 76 1/4. And then that is going to be right there. Now I'm going to take a level, I'm going to plumb this line up a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is to get over the heat, so I can take a measurement and make sure that I'm even in this room. So I want the wall to be nice and even and square. So that is 82 1/4. We'll check the other side. Let's go in here. See how close we are. 82 3/4. So I'm a 1/2 inch off. So here's what I'm going to do in order to figure this out. I'm going to put a nail right here on that line, and then do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take a chalk line. I'm not going to snap anything yet. I'm going to wrap it around here. So for me, it's more important for these rooms over here to be square. I have a bunch of stuff going in here. I have plans. This stuff needs to be nice and square. So I'm going to go off of these walls to see if I can get a nice straight line and kind of split the difference. Be good over there and over here. But this is where it's more important, so I'm going to measure this. I'll just go off the baseboard like this, and then to that chalk line is 75 1/2. I'll go just to the other side of the door. That is 75 1/2. So that's perfect for that room. These are going to be separate rooms. And then right here, I'll check. It's 75 5/8, an 1/8 inch off of that room. And then right here, 75 and just about 5/8. So I'm okay with it. If this is off a little bit, that's fine. So now that I know that that's where my wall's going, I can lower this chalk line, put some tension on it, and snap this line. There we go. So now I'm gonna try and get the carpet off of the tack strip like that. And I'm gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna use a hooked blade to try and cut this carpet right down that line. Doesn't have to be perfect, but if I cut it on this line, at least one of these sides, I won't have to cut again, hopefully, when I put the 2x4 in there. This works pretty good. So now I'm gonna fold this carpet back just enough so it's out of the way. And I'm gonna take some 3-inch construction screws to just hold it out of the way like that. Now I'm gonna cut this carpet pad back. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. Give an inch or so past that line. Give myself plenty of working room. Make sure all these staples are up. Just make sure nothing's in your way. Now I'm gonna get this tack strip out of the way. And on the other side. One more time. Put the chalk line on that nail. Ooh, I got a lot of chalk in here. Around this nail. Nice and tight. Snap-a-lappa. And then just make sure you're on the right side. Obviously, you can't go on that side. And then we can take these nails out. My pocket door is going to be nice and centered with this doorway. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to let natural light in here. Once I put a wall up, I'm going to lose that unless I put a glass pocket door in here, which is what I'm going to do. So this is going to be nice and in line, and I'm not going to need a 2x4 on the bottom where that door is, but I am going to run it from wall to wall, and then I'm gonna measure out for my framing, and then I will cut this out afterwards. I'm just not gonna nail right here where I know that the doorway is going. So if I take a measurement anywhere in the middle of this doorway, because I'm gonna use 2 pieces, I don't have long stock. So if I cut a 6-footer, I'll just have a break right here. I know it'll be in the doorway. This is not necessary at all, but I know the way my house is framed, and there's a seam right here, plywood seam. So every 16 inches, there should be a joist going this way. As you can see, there's a nail right here. So there's a joist there, there's a joist there, and there should be a joist here. And that will not only make sure that I get into something solid going this way, but if I had to drill down and run wires afterwards, then that'll help me out to avoid the joists. I'll do the same thing over here. Why not? 16, 32, 48, 64, and 80. I'm gonna cut this to the wall. Make sure it's on that line. Make sure you got a nice straight 2x4. And you can nail it in place. You could also use construction screws if you don't have a compressor. That's as far as I'll go for now until I figure out the framing, and I'll cut this piece. 73 3/8. Need more pressure. There we go. So now for the top plate, I could use a laser level and line it up with this and then put my 2x4 up here, but I'm gonna have to do some stuff up here, or I want to do some stuff up here. So this is another way to do it. I'm gonna cut a 2x4 going from here to up here. I'm gonna cut it at 95 inches, as long as that's gonna work for the other side. 95 inches will work, so I'll cut the straightest 2x4 I have at 95 inches, and then I can plumb it up, mark a line, snap it, and that will tell me that this top plate is going to be completely plumb with the bottom plate. And the good thing about this is you can reuse it because it's going to be longer than if you were to put it between the bottom plate and the top plate. This down here. That, and I take my 4-foot level and make sure it's tight to the bottom plate, and then mark which side. And same thing over here. There. And by the way, I'm well aware that you could build this entire thing on the floor and then stand it up and plumb it, nail it into place, but I like to stick frame. That's what this is called. Just makes it easier. Plus, I don't know what's going on in this area yet. And over there, I don't know if everything's plumb, level, square. So I just like doing it this way. Now I'm gonna put my nail in just like this, right on that line at an angle this way. The bottom's closer to this. Then I can put my chalk line in here, and since I angled it, hopefully, as I step off this ladder and hold this, it will not fall down like that. Just keep some tension on it. And then hold it to this mark, nice and tight. Snap-a-lappa. So now you could put your top plate up right on that line, shoot a couple nails at an angle, and then jam the studs in there. Before I do that, I'm gonna see what's up here. I just want to investigate a little bit to see if I can nail to something solid, because that would be great. And it's always good to see what you haven't seen before in your house. So here is where the other side of the 2x4 is going to go. And I'm just going to open this up kind of like that, just to take a look. Ooh, that's good. So this is kind of the ideal situation. Well, ideally, this would be dead center, and you could get 2 nails into this, but at least I can get 1 nail at an angle over into this, because my plate's gonna be right here. So this is good. So now I can do an 8-footer. So that's gonna go all the way. Just hold it up like this in the middle, get it on the line, shoot it at an angle. Just shooting them at an angle, that'll help to hold it up. And take a measurement here, 48 and 7/8, and take my nail out. Strapping should be in the same place over here, hopefully. Hopefully it's not at a square or anything. Put this in first. And at an angle through that one. We got our bottom plate in, got our top plate in, and without even taking measurements for anything, I know at very least I need a nailer on this side and a nailer on that side. So I'm going to do those two, and then I'll get to framing this door. Now, just because I want to investigate these two walls too. Usually I gut rooms, so it bothers me that I can't see all that's behind there. So I'll do this and on the other side. Insulation, that's good. No nailer, that's okay. Okay, pretty much solid studs all the way up. Good to know. Oh, another stud right there. Wow. I don't want it too tight, so I don't want to crack the ceiling like I just did. Whoops. Let's trim it. Perfect. Don't ever use this as a hammer. Up at an angle so I can get into this. Good. Good. So now I want to find the center of this doorway off of a wall so I can put it right on my bottom plate. So what I'm going to do is measure in between this casing, and this is 35 3/4. So that should be 17 7/8. I'll put this, the tip of the screw, right at 17 7/8. I'll just make it easy, double check, and that's good. So now I can measure off of this wall, and that is 70 5/8. And then I'm going to measure off the same wall to right here, 70 5/8. That is center. So that's where the center of this pocket door is going to go, and we can take all of our measurements off of that. For the pocket door kit that I'm using, they require a rough opening width of 2 times the door plus 1 inch. So if I was installing a 36-inch door, which I'm going to, a 3-foot door would require 3 foot plus 3 foot. That's 6 feet plus 1 inch. So 72 plus an inch, 73 inches, or 6 foot 1 inch. Now, as far as centering this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take half of a 36-inch door, and that's gonna be 18 inches off of my center mark. And if I mark that here, that's exactly where the opening behind me is. So I want my door to line up there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift this rough opening and have that extra inch go this way. So if I have trim going right here, I'll have some wiggle room, and I'll have my trim right here, and the door will line up here, which will make it completely even over there. So this mark right here, so this one is nothing, and this mark is going to be my jack stud. I'll take my frame and square, and this is just fancy terminology. This will be my king stud. So my king stud goes all the way up to the top plate, and then I put my header in, my non-load bearing wall header, and then I put my jack up to the bottom of that. So the rough opening can be determined now by holding my tape to this jack stud and making this 73 inches. Remember, that is 2 times the door width plus 1 inch. 73 right here. I'll grab my framing square, mark right here and right here. This is 1.5 inches. So this will be my jack stud, and this will be my king stud. Hope that makes sense. I'm gonna put some nails right on the edge now that I know where this is going. On the other side, I am gonna wait. Now I can take a measurement for my king studs, hold the tape nice and straight up, and I am gonna snug these up just a little bit to get it tight to the ceiling. Yeah, 92 3/4. Perfect. Nail that. And then I'm going to plumb this up. Well, that worked out where this actually ended up right on this seam, the 2x4s. And it's very important, by the way, to make sure that this frame is plumb, square, and level. Keep that in mind as you're building it. So I guess I made a little whoopsie right here. I nailed this, and this is actually gonna be cut out, but that's okay. But right now I'm gonna just put 2 nails right here, just so this is solid. Now for the height, we are going to sit on the subfloor. You can also sit on the finished floor for this. And we're going to measure up on one of these king studs and mark 84.5. Do the same thing on the other side. 84.5. Now I'm going to actually take a stud from the pocket door kit because I know it's nice and straight, and I'm going to hold it on those marks. And I'm gonna check and make sure that this is level, or as close to level as I can get it. And that's perfect. If it wasn't, I would hold it level, say it was like that, and then I would mark the frame or on the king stud just a little bit bigger, not smaller. But I know I'm good, so I can use that measurement. So now, if this happened to be a load-bearing wall, this would be the time that you put your beam in there. Obviously, make sure you put the right size beam in there if it is a load-bearing wall. This is not a load-bearing wall, so in my case, what I'm gonna do is 2 2x4s, one here, stacked on each other, and that's gonna be my header. So I'm gonna use my framing square and mark here, here, and here. This is where the header is gonna go. So now, on both sides, I can take a measurement of this right here, from here to this line, and cut some blocks. So that's 6.5 inches. It's probably gonna be the same over here. So I'll cut 2 blocks to start. Six and a half. Now I can nail these blocks in. And by the way, you can screw all this together if you want, if you don't have a framing gun, just so you know. And try not to split these. That is the only thing about doing blocks like this. And now I can take a measurement for these. That's gonna be 76 inches. So I'll cut 2 of those. I'm gonna put one of these 2x4s in. before I put the second 2x4 in here, I'm gonna hook on down here and mark 16 inches on center, measure out so I know where to put these cripples, and take a measurement in between here, make sure they're all the same, and then I can put those in. So I'm gonna do 15 1/4, X forward like this. Almost made it. I am gonna put one in here. 31 1/4, 47 1/4, 63 1/4. And this one's good. This one actually is perfect. And in case you're wondering why I'm doing like 95 1/4 versus right on 16 inches right here, is because it's just standard practice when you're building a wall. So that way, when you do drywall and you put an 8-foot piece up, it's gonna land half on the stud instead of right at the edge of the stud. So that way you can do 2 pieces and have a butt seam. And I'll mark these out too while I'm at it. And then I'll just square those lines. And just for reference here, I'm gonna hold this on the line and then mark right here. That way I can put these pieces in nice and straight. So now I can cut 1, 2, 3, 4 more pieces at 6.5 inches. That line, nail up this way. You could also install these first and then put this piece in, but I find it easier to do it this way. And then I put some pressure up like this, nail on this side, nail on this side. Ah, that happens. Sometimes the grain of the wood doesn't comply with you. So we'll cut another one. And now I can put the other 2x4 in. Now we can measure for our jack studs. 83, strong. Check this side, 83 1/8. So you can cut this bottom plate out afterwards with a Sawzall or a multi-tool or something like that. But in case you didn't know, a circular saw from this edge to the other side of this blade is 1.5 inches. So you can do this. Did I get through? The carpet's not letting me get through. I'm gonna shoot these nails in at an angle, just so I don't have anything back here to catch on while I'm working before this gets drywalled. Ah, I missed. Here's a quick tip. If these 2x4s are uneven and you want them flush and they just don't want to go, you can take a nailer or a screw and shoot it at an angle. You might want to put a couple in there. And then you can take your hammer and hammer it until it's nice and flush. And you can nail it. You might need a new compressor. Now you have your opening. Double check the height and the width. Adjust accordingly. You can fill in your studs on either side and you should be good to go. And you can install your pocket door kit. And in this video, I was just concentrating on doing the frame, but if you need a video on how to install one of these, stay tuned, because I am gonna make one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. The opening in the frame. I need to make the opening. Let's do it. Ooh, I got messed up. So cool. What a waste. Nope, opposite. Terrible. offline. Does that make sense? Did you see a spark?
No.
Oh, I did. I hear heat pipes. I will not stand for this. Guess it's been a while since I used that framing gun. Looked like a hack. Maybe I am a hack. So if I'm doing a 36-inch door, so if I was installing a 36-inch, and you can't see that, Lauren?
Nope, not at all.
Like that. Make this look better, Lauren. Whoa! Whoops. Not reading instructions. Ah! Oh, come on. Think you can get this nail out? I doubt it. The old side hammer. Oh, God, don't do this. Of course, I had to get it into the joist, didn't I? Oh my God. Wow, I look like a real jackass right now, don't I? At least I know they're solid. Can you step on that, please?